I want to get right to this interview because he's one of my favorite guys. He knows he's one of my favorite guys. We met about a year ago and started covering this stock, and this has been nothing but roses and rainbows as long as. And really, you're talking about the guy who was the 5th employee as Senior VP, General Manager at Red Bull North America. Maybe you've heard of it?
Yes.
As a sports guy?
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of his for a number of reasons, because I will tell you, he tells me what's going to happen, and then 3 months later, what he says is going to happen, 6 months later, happens in 3 months later. And that's just my opinion on the thing. I'm going to talk about this because in the last 30 days, let me just read a few of the headlines that have gone on with my friend Robert Nistico, who's the founder and CEO of Splash Beverage Group, stock symbol SBEV, splashbeveragegroup.com. Splash Beverage Group expands northeastern U.S. footprint. That's one press release. Splash Beverage Group signs agreement with Budweiser as a distributor to cover New Jersey counties. Splash Beverage Group reports 2021 fourth quarter and full year financial results. SBEV Group's Pulpo Loco and Copa di Vino to be served at Dodger Stadium for 2022 season. And of course, they presented the NobleCon 18. They named Ron Wall as their CFO. And I'll tell you what, it's so great to see you, my friend. And you've been busy. Come on. That's just a month. That's what is going on, man? It is.
How the heck are you, sir?
Good. Listen,
always a pleasure.
I got to ask you, because when you and I first talked, you had a very clear picture about distribution, about how influencer marketing fails in the beverage business, and about an acquisition strategy, which of course Copa di Vino was the first one, which I think was a Shark Tank brand, which fit into your portfolio strategy. And you've continued to do that. You've pivoted along the way without leaving any of these initiatives gone by. Talk about one of the most significant things that happened this year, and that is this little company called Walmart putting you on the end caps for tap out. Talk about that journey and what's next. What could possibly be next?
Yeah, well, there's a never-ending line of work that we need to accomplish and tasks we need to accomplish. But yeah, it has been a really, really, really good start to the year. We'll be reporting our quarterly earnings for Q1 for 2022 very soon, in about a couple of weeks. Having partners like national retailers like Walmart and strong regional retailers like Winn-Dixie and Publix, really fantastic. It's just an affirmation of the strength of our brands, the fact that we're on consumer trend, people want what we have to sell, makes life a lot easier.
We've been talking about Copa di Vino. We've been talking about Tap Out, of course, Salt Tequila in the early days, and of course your Pulpo Loco, which I have a hard time saying. So, are those the brands? Do you focus on these equally, Robert, as we go through? I mean, or is there one favorite son that you concentrate on for a month or two and then you move on, or how do you juggle all these things at the same time?
Well, I grew up in an Italian immigrant family and with 6 children, and it's like asking your mom, who's your favorite kid?
Right.
Impossible to get that answer. But they all have a unique proposition, which is great for the consumer and really good for us, frankly, from a revenue standpoint. And each has different profit margins too. So it just kind of depends on where we are along with our strategy at any given time. But we really do pay attention to them equally. I got to tell you, you mentioned Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
We had, I think, our first game or two, and we went through over 300 cases of Copa di Vino and Pulpo Loco in one afternoon. So we think we're onto something there.
Well, listen, I know there's a couple of people in the keynote speaking business, because I do about 40 of these things a year. Mm-hmm. And Copa di Vino, by the way, if you haven't seen it, it's you can go to splashbeveragegroup.com to look at it. But it's basically individual servings of wine in a cup, and it's high quality wine. And there's several different varieties that you can get. But I have several keynote speakers that have pretty heavy topics, and what they want to do is they want to take and chill these glasses, right, and then put them under the seats of the audience for a little break about halfway through, because sometimes this stuff gets heavy, Robert. And I got to tell you, I think you're going to pick up a whole new category here. No, it's honestly a $16 billion industry.
You got to dull the edge.
And when you're talking about human change and coaching, you've been to these big keynote things. It's not always a marketing. It's not always a marketing event. Sometimes it's a tough deal. I've talked to literally 2 of the top keynote speakers that I'm going to put you in touch with that want to talk about distributing your wine under their, like, they're just another customer of yours, which I think is fantastic. Speaking of that Dodger Stadium thing, okay, you look at all the new stadiums, baseball parks out there, not to mention football, NBA. Could this be the sleeper category that you guys weren't thinking about? Because I don't remember even talking about this with you before, and suddenly this happens. This is a huge marketing opportunity, correct?
Absolutely. When we acquired Copa di Vino as our first acquisition, as you mentioned, the brand, due to COVID, had really pulled back quite a bit because a great percentage of their business was in large venue. So we're just simply recapturing that business now and adding new stadiums as we go. But I mean, if you do the math, Sully, I mean, it's really incredible what the potential is, for single serve wine and sangrias in these venues. I mean, obviously there's a lot of beer sold, but there are a heck of a lot of wine drinkers in these places as well. And that was proven last week at Dodger Stadium. So we're quite excited about a very narrow but very lucrative channel of business for this brand.
Hey, Robert, filling in here as our co-host recently is Mike Costa, our sports guy, who has something to say about what's served at stadiums, because you're constantly there, right?
Yes.
You've had more bad stadium food. Well, finally, you have some reason to take your wife to the press box.
And now I've got another reason to go to Chavez Ravine, now that Robert's there as well. Robert, that conversation, is that with the Dodgers or is it with Chavez management?
It's with the management company, sorry. And our relationship with AB InBev and all the bud houses we have around the country, they're already there with very strong presence. So nothing's easy, but it does make our job a lot easier as these guys are just adding that to their sales pitch along with Bud Light and Stella and whatever else.
You and I first talked in the very beginning about the Red Bull model and how people always underestimate distribution. You and I've talked about that a lot. And I haven't asked you this in at least, I don't know, a month. So I'm gonna ask you again. Are you still a subscriber that one of the reasons you guys are so popular right now is because of the distribution game, specifically like with Walmart, for example?
Yeah, it really is everything. One of the announcements we created a press release for, I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago, was Khalil Distributing and Manufacturing out of Arizona. They're really present in about 3.5, 4 states. They've already opened over 86 Walmarts in less than 2 weeks in the state of Arizona. And I think I can say this because it's not forward-looking, but they're already on their second order.
Wow.
I think it's their 3rd or 4th truckload.
So
this is tap out, by the way. And,
yeah, of course. And
yeah,
which you see everywhere. I mean, if you walk into a Walmart store, it's on every freaking end cap these days. It's not just on one end cap in the beverage aisle, Robert. They have this stuff everywhere. So obviously it's doing well, right?
So to answer your question, distribution is everything. Oh, I have to get you new bottles, Sully. We have a new package.
Is there a new package? Yeah, for sure. Maybe some new bottles of the Salt Twos, because since the late,
God
rest his soul, Rusty Nails drank all of that bottle. Maybe perhaps. Robert Nistico is his name. He is the founder and CEO of Splash Beverage Group. Robert, I got about a minute left here. Do me a favor. What are you most excited about here in the next year, the rest of 2022, going into the next 18 months?
What I'm really excited about is what I can't say out loud.
Yeah, good.
We are on the acquisition warpath, and we're evaluating numerous targets at all times. And maybe you'll see our second and third acquisition possibly here in the near future. We'll see. Nothing's done till it's done. But we're very excited about growing our portfolio.
Very consistent, because that's what you've said all along. His name is Robert Nistico. Robert, thanks so much, pal. We'll be talking to you very soon. And again, you can go to drinktapout.com, you can go to copadivino.com, you can go to salttequila.com, and you can go to splashbeveragegroup.com. But exciting stuff there. I'm very excited to see how these guys are doing. All right, very good. One of my favorite guys. Dig him a lot.